We can't be in a patriarchy if I'm the queen.
Women are trash.
Wait.
What?
No, wait.
No.
That's what she said.
No matter where I go, women throw themselves on me, and it's really hard. I have to fend them off. I sometimes have to push them. They jump, and you know, sometimes they use their bras as some sort of weird wind machine that lets them jump off of airplanes, and the air will suck up into like the booby buckets.
What is going on?
And it'll hold them as a parachute as they come down and just throw themselves on me. And it's difficult. I have to fight them off, and after you fight them off with you know, the only things that women will destroy women. So like you know, things women are allergic to, like wearing like making the quarter more an hour. Like every amendment up till the 19th. All these things I just have to fight off. And so the point is, being a guy is great, and no matter what happens, Mr. Worldwide, Pitbull.
Mr. Worldwide here, and that's why I have a lot of bruises on my leg from Kuwait.
I'm so uncomfortable. Do we have intros?
Mia does not have bruises on her leg from me.
I really actually honestly do.
What do you know?
I heard the noise 2 nights ago.
I will show you my bruises.
Today, as a straight male, I'm gonna talk about we're gonna talk about women and the F word.
What?
Feminism. And I want everyone to know that I'm gonna be acting as like moderator here, because they're gonna duke it out.
We're doomed.
And I have some good questions about feminism and you know, womenly things. So we're gonna open with the first question. It's a heavy one. You guys ready?
You can't say
I'll
that.
ever be.
It's a heavy one.
Well,
you can't talk about women that way, Kwaku. You know.
No, I'm not
this.
talking about heavy women.
I know.
No, heavy women
question.
heavy women are included along with skinny women and men. What? Well, you can't cut. Why? It's fine. Look, everybody, look. What it? Freddie Mercury was right.
It was my
Fat
fault.
bottom girls make the rock and world go round. In that
I'm
one
waiting.
Song, right?
I'm waiting.
So anyway,
Are we ever gonna make it to anything substantive?
Yes,
No?
quickly. Too.
well, now my first question seems kind of messed up in line with what I just said. Okay, how about this one?
No, wait, do the first question.
Oh my gosh!
Is rape culture real?
Oh my.
Okay.
I think I know.
So rape culture, by the definition that I'm just gonna make up, is different than do rapists exist? Obviously they do, but the question is, do we have a culture that fosters men to be sexual assaulters and, you know, harassers, or do we have a culture that's actually more pro women and we have less sexual assaulters and sexual
I would
harassers?
actually say that that's even an unfair categorization of what rape culture is. Because do I think that society has some flaws, and one of the issues is that it creates men who become sexual predators? Absolutely. I think a rape culture is something that trivializes that, something that normalizes it or tries to diminish the impact of it and make it seem as if it's not a big deal. Is that a fair categorization of what a rape culture is?
But that's like two different sides, because there's like, it's not as big a deal that it is, or it is in that it like makes men be raped.
That I think is the core.
Right. Google's default definition says in a society or environment whose prevailing social attitudes have the effect of normalizing or trivializing sexual assault and abuse. So is it a society that essentially turns a blind eye or minimizes the suffering and pain of abuse of people who are victims of sexual abuse?
So it's like she was asking for it, right?
Right. Is it a society where we
or
try to help the
think
victim?
of his promising future, right?
Like a kind of a toxic masculinity
boys
kind of
will
thing.
be boys. But my question is, do we, as a society, on a broad curve, is that the attitude when it happens?
Well, I mean, like we're talking about church culture. Because this is
within the church itself.
Within
is there a rape culture within the church?
Oh gosh, I hope not. But like low key, the whole ideology of what girls wear is, you know, responsible for men's thoughts. That's like low key a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
I see where you're coming from with that, because I think that there are people who take it too far and say like, oh, if a woman wears anything attractive, then forget agency, that guy's mind is taken over, right? Like, and that's stupid. That is not the way that the world works. But at the same time, you got to recognize like, hey, what you wear does have an impact, like a certain impact So you need to be aware of that and cognizant of it.
I feel like, well, I will say this. Look, sometimes women wear things and I get angry. Crocs, what are you doing? You know, walking around Crocs or like a Harley Davidson shirt, unacceptable if you ask me. So I get angry based on bad style, and I don't care if that's a part of the patriarchy. I will perpetuate it. Now, will I perpetuate?
But do you blame your sexual thoughts on their outfit?
Exactly. That
well, it makes
like
it seem
those
like men
Crocs,
are barbarians.
baby.
Like a woman, like you can see cleavage, and I'm just like hubbada. No, like that's not how dudes are. Like we're cartoon characters. You know what I'm saying? Like I've met 0 Johnny Bravos in real life. You know what I mean?
Okay,
like,
that is my
I'm
question.
Sure one of your friends is Johnny Bravo, and he runs a substantial meme account named after the
basic Provo,
typical Provo human.
No, but then again, also I do like here's the thing. I compare this to how when you're in middle school or high school, and you go into the bathroom, like guys in the stalls, and someone has like carved genitalia or a swastika on like the, you know what I mean?
Or
like,
both.
Or both. Sometimes it's like a swastika made of genitalia. You know what I mean? Like every dude has seen that growing up in high school bathrooms. Right?
James did so.
Yes, he was homeschooled. But you know it's there. You've seen it. You've seen the bathroom stall carvings. You have the petroglyphs. But you've never met a guy who does it. You don't know anyone personally who does it. But you know that happens. And I feel like
I have a pretty good idea. It was the same kid that wore like the trench coat to school.
I played D&D.
I was always nice to him. You know what I'm saying?
For real, yeah. But you're like, hey, you dropped this.
But seriously,
remember that.
But like, so people will say, okay, this happened to this girl in a war. It happened to her. Happened to her. And you're like, you look at all your friends, you're like, none of my buddies would do that.
But I could.
But one would.
But I could name 3 people right now that we all know that actually do have sexual assault allegations against them, and I believe all of them.
We can't say their name, but like that's the thing though. But that's because as a woman, you bring your voice to the conversation. But when you don't have it, it's just a bunch of dudes, and you're like, Bill's super chill, and then you're thinking it's the same thing. Freddie would never draw a swastika on the bathroom stall until Freddie did draw the swastika on the bathroom stall. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, wait.
What is our I think what defines whether or not we're a rape culture is what is our attitude once it comes to like that Freddie did in fact draw the swastika.
This
is touch the girl.
And
do we condemn him or do we jump to Freddie's defense? Because I think that's the defining characteristic about whether or not we promote a rape culture.
And I think that's kind of where we come back to what Kinsey was saying, where you were talking about like when people do say, well, if a girl was wearing something inappropriate, then it's on her. It's like,
she was asking for
the responsibility for the actions of that guy rests solely with that guy, right?
And so the thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thoughts, actions, words, any of those.
So I know I'm a straight male, so I have 2 thoughts. Because I know the comments will be like, how come women aren't speaking more? I'm just gonna put it out there. I know I'm a straight male. I'll say the first one is I wonder if because I feel like whenever I hear someone say she was asking for it, the majority of the time I hear it, it's in condemnation of that attitude as opposed to someone actually just saying that. But that's also because oftentimes these conversations are had by people who have already been won over by the fact that we have a horrible like standard of sexual assault in our culture already, but the people who are not engaging in this conversation don't think we have it. So oftentimes like people who might be neutral listening and they're like, I've never heard any normal person say she was asking for it, but that's because those who think about it aren't in the conversation. So it kind of becomes like a bunch of people who are already attuned to this. Just like it can come across as we're all like patting each other in the back, like we don't do this, but we need someone who literally has like the she was asking for attitude to actually speak, but they're not going to. They're going to remain silent because they know they don't have the popular view. So it's like I feel like
Mia, it's time to speak up.
Oh gosh.
Okay. Thoughts about this because about rape culture. I honestly, for the longest time, I didn't believe it was like something as significant. It didn't happen as much, like in a way that I thought, oh well, like that won't happen to me. That won't like. I mean, no, I've not been raped, but like sexual abuse and like it happens way more than you think. And I didn't like. You don't think it happens until it happens to you. And I think it's the people you least expect and when you least expect it. And then for it to be like, oh, she was asking for it. Like, I don't think that's really ever the case, to be honest. Like, do I believe that women can rape men? Yes. Do I believe that men can rape women? Yes. But I think it's like, sometimes it takes someone to be in the situation to know the situation. For like a lot of you guys, I don't know if you guys have done anything to girls, and I doubt you have, but for the people who do it, I'm like, yeah, have you?
That's maybe the nicest thing you've ever said to me on the show. I don't think you rape people. Oh, I'm flattered.
I think that a lot of people say these things because they haven't been in the situation of it. So I don't think it's about like whether she was asking for it or not, but whether if you are that person or not, because I know in high school, like it obviously happens, but I wasn't aware of who those people were until I got dangerously close to it. And these would have been like the most popular guys in the school. Mm-hmm. But women don't speak up about it because it's normalized. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. And especially growing up in Utah, everyone's LDS.
Explain that part to me.
So, okay.
Women don't speak about it because it's normalized.
So,
go into more detail there.
Okay, here's a few examples. When I was in high school, I wasn't, whatever, nothing happened, but girls don't say things because I know one instance something happened. No one said anything about it because the guy was about to go on a mission. And they didn't want to bring it up because that would ruin him and his reputation at the school, his reputation in the ward. He wasn't going to be able to go on his mission. And it would have been like a big deal. And so people say, I'll save the drama, just let it be. And then, like, let them just live with, like, because I don't want to deal with the drama that comes with it. So I'm just going to be like, I'll forget about it. Another time, I had a good friend who got raped by this guy. And I was like, dude, like, what the heck happened? Like, why are you just now saying this? Like, why has it been, like, you should be speaking up about this, saying this to someone, because that's obviously not okay. And she was like, it's not worth the drama. And I mean, that's the thing. It's like, if you go out and say, this person raped me, who says that people are going to believe you? Because I think definitely some people make up rape. And I'm not saying that's the case all the time, but some people don't make it up and say it. No one believes them because they like the guy. Sometimes it's a popular guy at school. No one's be like, they would never do that. They would never do that. That's what happened with the guy in high school. When it did start getting brought up.
You don't want to believe that a friend of yours would do that.
And that's because it happened kind of with this guy on the basketball team. And as kind of got out to the school, like the rumor, all the basketball players were calling me because I knew the story. And they're like, is this real? Like, blah, 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 blah. You know the story. And I was like.
Oh, I do. We'll cut it out. Because is it name starts with a J?
No.
PG High School, right?
You thought he was
no, it's I don't know. Not him.
Oh,
not him. I know who you're talking about, but it's another guy. But people started calling me, be like, he would never do that. He's such a good guy. Yeah, he's a good guy to the guys. Like, he's a bros guy. But who knows? Like, sometimes people flip a switch when it comes to girl, like girls. But who says who's gonna believe who? Because in the church, I know some parents like put their kids on a pedestal. They can do no wrong. They're going on a mission. They're awesome. And then when they do something bad, their parents are like, no, that won't happen. Like, because there's this image I think a lot of us in the church like to put forward, but in a way that like girls just don't want to deal with the drama. Like for me, like when something happened, I was like, let's let him go. I've learned my lesson. I know not to be in a setting alone with a guy ever again, even if it just like happened, even if it was like driving someone home and it happened. You know, it's like it's hard to avoid these situations if like sometimes, if that makes sense. Like she was asking for it, she was wearing this, she was alone with him, she shouldn't have been alone with him. It could have been a situation where like I'm just driving this guy home from a group setting and it happened.
Okay, but you know what? They don't say she was asking for it because you're right, because that's ridiculous. Nobody ever even says that.
It's
But
like
you know what
saying
they
you know not anymore.
But you know what they do say? Oh, well, were you making out with him?
And that is true, because the level of consent, like, yeah, you may consent to making out, but do you consent to sex? No. But then people are like, well, why would you even make out with him? Or like, you know, why didn't you just... I think a lot of girls...
I do hear that you shouldn't put yourself in compromising situations. I've heard that before.
But sometimes it's unavoidable. I have to say.
Well, that's why you need to just start carrying a contract with you that like each...
No, a gun. Carry a gun. Women should all be packing heat.
Mine was a joke, but his is actually
Packing
maybe
heat
more.
or packing heat?
Packing heat.
Like packing heat. Like, okay.
I don't know the joke.
Never mind.
Okay, so I
got you.
So here's
No
my
one
thoughts on it,
understands
because
me.
I feel like I have two diametrically opposed feelings. Because the first one is for Young and Dumb, we had complaints at 2 parties ago that one dude is groping girls. So I found who the guy was, and I banned him, and I said, you're not welcome at any Young and Dumb parties, and I refunded him like the next ticket he bought, and I said, you're not allowed to come. So like there is like a level of, okay, you do need to just take action. Like if like my responsibility, if I'm putting on events where I'm bringing people together, it then becomes my responsibility to make sure that there are no, Epsteins or Bundys walking around. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
But then this happened to me a year and a half ago, and I've told this story because it's really funny. But this is a real thing, and this sort of changed my mind on it. The first ever feminist panel in BYU history. I mean, that's what they were saying, like online. This is the first BYU feminist panel in BYU history. As head of BYU Dems, I'm no longer part of any political party. Just going to put that out for the 501c3. As part of BYU Dems, I signed off on it, and I helped plan that. Okay.
Okay.
A lot of really great conversations were happening. Right afterward, that same week, I went and got soda with this girl at like 2 p.m. It was a nice hour-long date, and that was it. 3 days later, at a booth in the Wilk, different girl comes up to me, and she's like, I have to replace names. She's like, what happened with Kylie? And I'm like, I didn't know if they were friends. My head was like, it's kind of a mediocre date. It kind of made small talk, and then it was it. She's like, I heard you guys were making out watching a movie, and she didn't want to go all the way, so you stormed out and slammed the door. And I was like, we have never watched a movie together. We've hung out once to get Dr. Pepper's at Sodalicious on 600 North at 2 p.m. And so I asked her, I was like, hey, bro, what are you telling people? Like, we've never, and she's like, I didn't say that at all. Turns out she had a weird roommate who was like obsessed with trying to be popular and obsessed with like Provo culture and wanted to just like have some tea, who like just falsified an entire story. And from there, because she was able to tell a couple people, we had some Twitter ex-Mormons pick it up, and they ran with it. And then they had them tweeting out things like, hey, Kwakuel is a predator. And by the way, the word predator is such an open-ended term. It can just mean the worst thing you think of, right? So if I say predator, you could think of rapist. I say predator, you could think of a child molester. I say predator, like predator is a word that it could be interpreted different ways.
Sure.
And so it starts tweeting around, and they're saying, Kwaku's got dozens of victims. Now, this is literally during the time of the Brett Kavanaugh trials, right? So this was the top, topic. So they're saying Kwaku has all these victims, and they've all come forward to Title IX. And I'm like, well, who? So I literally start calling my ex-girlfriends. I'm like, hey, go into Title IX and talk to them, because am I like a bat? And they're like, no. So I had all my exes went in and just said, we're like, Kwaku was great. So I finally get called in.
It's a dangerous game right there.
Yeah.
It's like you're gonna
one
those
of
are
them.
people you're gonna rely on to exonerate you. I hope you ended on good terms.
Right. These were all ex-girlfriends, okay? One I almost married and didn't marry, so that's just how you know, this is literally, okay?
If even she's one to vouch for you, no.
So I get the little Title IX email, right? And I go in, and I'm sitting in, the rapist room where they have a camera there and a camera there and 2 seats, right? And they have the recording thing right in the freaking middle. And he sit down, and I'm like, all right, who were the victims? And he goes, oh, so there was no victims. No women actually came forward to say you did anything. There was one. So we have these reports.
Lots of people came on behalf of other people who allegedly were victims.
No, 3 people just realized they could just say you have victims. So as opposed to there being an actual victim who says, believe me, there is, I know of a victim. Believe this nebulous entity who is not verified. And if you don't believe this nebulous entity, then you're supporting rape culture, right? So it was literally an anti-Mormon YouTube channel that reported me to Title IX, a married hairdresser who was 40 who didn't like the church, and then that one girl I brought up, the one who just made up a story. Zero women. It was fake. It was all fake. But as far as the public goes, it's, oh, well, how would we not believe these women? But there were no women to believe. So we've gotten to a place, though, in this idea of fighting against rape culture where it's you can the same way racism is real and it's an actual problem, you're also going to get Jussie Smolletts. You are going to get people who see that there is a heart-trenching issue that people want to stop, and they are going to try to profit off of it socially, and they are going to lie. That's just how life is. And so I kind of have I do believe our friend who we know who got raped by the other person we know who is not really our friend anymore. Mm-hmm. I fully believe her. Mm-hmm. But also now I do think twice or three times if I see some claim online and someone says this person did that. Because I know we also do have a culture in which you can literally get a following by pretending or making something up. The TEDx speaker, who is she's an Indian feminist, LGBT icon. People listen to her. She's very influential online. She just got outed for literally kidnapping a woman and raping the woman in her basement she was the girl was interning for her. You know what I'm saying? And it happened for a year or something crazy. And but nobody has really dug into it because it was well, no, because this is a feminist leader. She would never do it. She did it. So all I'm saying is whenever a subject gets really, really big and everyone starts to have opinions on it, I think it becomes really representative of humanity, and it's really complicated. And we like to think it's not complicated at all. Yep. But you will have good and bad people on every single political and social issue, and people will lie. I believe, I will say, what happened to George Floyd was evil, but what happened to Jussie Smollett didn't actually happen, right? And so it's I can hold both positions on that. I hold both positions on this too.
Yeah, so I think that ultimately there's a lot of flaws, right? I think that's some of the things we addressed about how sometimes it is hard to believe that someone that you like was guilty of something so heinous like that. And so I think for that reason, people are probably reluctant to believe victims from time to time. I do think that it's the exception and not the rule. I do think that just based on nothing other than my familiarity with people in the church, I think overall we do a pretty good job of believing that people who, like the Family Proclamation says, who abuse others are going to stand accountable before God. So I don't think we're a rape culture. I think that we're a culture that has room to improve.
Yeah, and I would say that anyone in the church who perpetuates rape culture does so without understanding the scriptures. They twist what they have heard in church, or they're not living what they have been taught. Right. Because we have teachings about agency. We have teachings about how to have men and women interact with each other that go entirely in the face of that sort of stuff. So I think that as written, the church is absolutely against rape culture. I do think that there are people who twist what gets said in a way that they twist it to their own advantage, just like they would in any other system, right? Because there are bad people in any group.
Right.
So that's kind of where I would land on this, is that the church is probably doing what it can to stop rape culture. I wonder if there's anything further that could be done, but the doctrines and teachings of the church are opposed to that.
I agree. Right. Okay, I have an instance, and this is I think this happens a lot in the church. So in high school, it's always high school, but there's this girl and this guy, their parents, I'm not too sure to what extent they saw, but their parents saw them doing stuff. And I don't know if they were having sex or what they were doing, but the girl's parents caught them doing stuff. And then the guy, whatever, they go home. The girl tells her parents that the guy raped her, even though he hadn't. And so then her parents, get this guy in trouble. He gets in big trouble, gets sent away to summer camp. We don't see this guy for 2 years. But he didn't rape her. Mm-hmm. Literally gets sent away to a troubled kid's school home. And he's gone. But for something he didn't do. And so, but what I think really did happen was they weren't doing anything. Her parents caught her. She was in trouble. So the easy out is he raped me. She gets she doesn't get in trouble. He gets all the blame, but it ended up ruining his life, getting him sent away from all his friends and family for 2 years. And she left clean. And I think in the church, parents have this pressure on kids to not do that. Obviously, that's parenting, but it's easy for girls to be no, he raped me, and then
there's so much pressure not to be a violator of the law of chastity that it almost creates an incentive to lie at the
About
expense
it.
of someone else.
Which I'm not saying
Yeah.
that happens like it doesn't happen
No,
all
I
the
could see
time,
that
but it happens.
happening anecdotally for sure.
And now I feel like sometimes like that kind of story is just like heard of and not actually real, but like it actually happened, and this poor guy like now has a hard time like getting a job because that's on his permanent record. He didn't live with his family for 2 years. They sent him away. It's like I think it's the debate of like, do I say something and ruin this person's life? But like then it's downplayed because it's like, oh, he just raped me.
It kind of reminds me of
It's a big deal.
This is the most former theater kid thing I could say. Sweeney Todd. You know how when Sweeney
Oh my
no,
gosh.
no, in Sweeney Todd he gets framed. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And he loses his daughter, his wife, and it drives him to a madman, and he seeks revenge, and he just starts like, that guy. I mean, I don't know him, but I imagine that guy will probably never believes anyone who says, "Oh, this person like raped me." Like it's like or the McKenna Denson, right? Who
Yeah.
She was the McKenna Denson was the woman years ago, I guess only 2 years ago, who came out and said, I was sexually assaulted by the MTC president, President Bishop, back when I was at the MTC in like the 1980s.
Was she the one who stood up at like a church?
No, but that was a follower of her, basically.
Yeah, she reported it, and like it got really, really big in the news, and then turned out.
Then Sam Young, who I've met and is actually a good dude. Like, actually, I mean, kind of wacky with some of his stuff, but I don't think he's a bad guy. They started working together, and they started the Protect LDS Children movement, and they became really big. There were protests outside on Temple Square saying, "Don't let young children in rooms with bishops talk about confessing sexual stuff or anything like that." It became such a big movement, and they were making a documentary about her and everything. And then it took someone doing a little more diving into her life. It turns out she got raped like 16 times by 16 different men, which is statistically pretty low unless you're being trafficked. And then it turned out she made it all up. She was never raped by anyone. She created she changed her name. Her name was actually June Hughes, and she became McKenna Denson, and her everything was a lie, like made up everything. And so the biggest like movement against the church in terms of like sexual predators was actually made up by a con artist, right?
I think that we've kind of wound up square on this issue of both can be true. Sometimes rape allegations are false, and sometimes
I guess the point I'm making is though, like you're gonna like people who followed her, who felt duped after, are going to be very less likely to ever believe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that definitely does hurt progress against rape culture.
And so, like, I don't know. I think that's probably why we have like you think of like a feminist leader, and you'd be like, okay, they're pro, like they believe all the women. Then I think of someone like Charlie Kirk. I'm just gonna assume probably like is more of a skeptic there, right? But also it's like when someone has a personal experience, people don't change their mind. No matter how many facts you throw, people will take their personal experience over that. And we're acting like this is just a numbers game of like stats, but it isn't. It isn't. People, everyone knows a person, and that's how they're gonna go about it.
What's our next question, Kwaku?
Oh, there's more.
All right, sorry, we don't even have enough time to finish this, do we?
Oh,
you know what?
No. We should do that as its own thing.
Okay.
Ooh. Yeah, that one.
By your experience, are Latter-day Saint men less or more toxic than mainline Christian men, including Catholics, and like Jehovah's Witnesses, all the other non-LDS Christians?
I have only dated Latter-day Saint boys, so I don't think I can speak.
I
on
have
it.
only dated the Latter-day Saint boys.
I know, but how else do you get a feel on somebody's toxicity other than being in a relationship with them?
I mean, you probably have friends who've been in relationships with them. You've probably been in the same friend circle as people who are non-Latter-day Saint Christians.
Dude, I just don't know if I can speak
How about you
on
stop
this.
talking out, okay, Kinsey? Take a stance here, all right? We didn't put you on the show so you can not have opinions.
I am dating an LDS boy. Clearly, I preferred them.
Well, I don't.
Well,
and that's I think that's where we
you
differ.
prefer that one, right? Does that mean that you prefer all of them overall?
Yeah, well, I know some you would not prefer.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't know, because I'm torn. See, on one hand, I know some pretty cringy, like, Christian guys. On the other hand, I'm pretty toxic. So
Scott is the most toxic of them all.
Oh, please.
Well, Mia, you've dated both, right?
So
no, she's only dated non.
yeah, honestly, okay. I talked to LDS boy. Okay, I kind of dated LDS boys. I honestly don't see a difference.
You're dating one right now.
Who?
You know, matching gold chain boyfriend.
Oh,
Are we not doing this?
We haven't filmed such a. We've been filming such a while.
I thought this was a running joke.
So
Literally, like our last video, he professes. This can't be like the joke can't be dead.
it's
Salt Lake Temple 2022. It's fine.
you are really behind, Scott.
Or he's ahead. Look, Mia, keep going.
Yeah, Mia.
Okay, my experience. I don't think. I don't know why I prefer non-LDS guys. Maybe it's because. Why do what did you say?
They're more fun.
Okay, yeah. But I prefer. I don't think there's a difference in. I haven't seen a difference because if I dated. I don't know.
Well, do you guys notice the difference between LDS girls and non-LDS?
Oh, you have opened the door.
I'm pretty bad.
Wait,
at
is there a
both, so
difference?
I'll
Be
defer
honest,
to
be
Quakers
honest.
here.
Okay, this is really funny. My thought. This is going to probably sound extraordinarily misogynistic, but I'm just gonna say it.
You
So
are.
I've never stopped you before.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like there's like you've all heard my theory about dating and the different like archetypes. There's like generally two right now. Let's just say there's like the very down to earth LDS girls, usually from like Idaho. You know what I mean?
What?
Like you're like
From Idaho.
I feel like
Depends on the part of Idaho, man.
Yeah.
no, not like Eagle, but like a lot. You know what I mean? Like
That's
not
where they're all
Eagle and
from,
Meridian.
though.
But then you also have like the very much like the hardcore suburbanism, like great descendant of an apostle who made a ton of money back in the day, and so they've got like old money and they like live in like Cottonwood Heights.
Okay, that's
You know what
not
I'm
what
saying?
you don't like
You know
that
what I'm
one.
saying? No.
What are we?
I
What
think
are
the
we?
Millards are somewhat new money. I don't know.
Oh my gosh! Wait.
Your dad, you're like $16 million dad. The point is,
Okay. Oh god, that
Irrelevant.
Oh my
it doesn't-
Wait,
so-
what are we? Are we?
No, okay, let me finish. The point is,
Okay,
though,
well, tell us
the-
what we
the-
are first. Categorize us
I'm,
here.
I'm not going to categorize you on the show because I'm a gentleman. So you have two different groups, right? I found though, like LDS girls who are in Utah who come from more of the suburbanism kind of aspect of the gospel and like come from money, and Utah's got a lot of money, are and this is a stereotype, but this is a stereotypical question we're asking, have been far more dishonest, far more shallow, and far more
Don't say that about Ashlyn.
seeking are not seeking in relationships. They don't seek to date someone who they love. They seek to date someone who like fits categories.
Oh, social climbers.
But if I
Like checks all the boxes.
They'll be like,
non-LDS girls I've dated,
I'm looking for a
Yes.
cheerleader this time, and maybe a cheerleader next time.
Yes, like the female me, right?
Yeah.
Like so toxic. And so the non-LDS girls
Toxic.
I've dated are like not like that. And so but also I might just be dating the wrong LDS girls.
So
I hate to throw my ex
and
under the bus. They're great,
that's
but-
actually what I would say girls or guys aside, I think just thinking about my experience with anybody in or out of the church, I think they kind of live gospel principles whether they're in or out of the church. And sometimes people who are outside of the church are living gospel principles better than people who are inside the church.
Oh my
right?
gosh, that's so true.
And because of that, I think you can't blanket categorize. Yeah, there are Mormons are better daters than people who aren't. Right? I think there's just too many variables for human choice.
This is crazy because I'm gonna butcher this statistic. So one of our comment people will fact check me and get the actual numbers out there, I'm sure, with a few expletives. But there's like some figure I heard where there's like a rate of success within AA, like Alcoholics Anonymous, where it's like 30% of them or something like that will not go back to alcohol. And yet outside of AA, you'll see that people who actually make an attempt to like get over alcoholism, like through just whatever their own means, it's roughly the same. So the question becomes, does AA actually help, or is it the person who's going to get over alcoholism is going to get over alcoholism regardless of what program they use or surround themselves with?
Yeah.
And no one really knows the answer, right? Or it's up for debate at least. But it's almost like the same concept as what you're talking about. It's like there are going to be girls who are worth dating and girls who are not worth dating. And
How dare you not say women are worth dating?
at least at that point in their lives, sometimes they're not. But
I agree.
and I've been a guy who's not always worth dating. So, but
I agree.
So I can.
I'm getting
I'm
married
just
before
not Mia's
Scott.
type, okay? I need to lose about 60 pounds, pick up a coke addiction.
And grow a mustache, a
I
really
know,
bad
like
mustache.
Pete Davidson. But
Okay, yeah. Woo!
Yeah, me would be all over you. Wait,
I need veneers. That's what I need.
And
but
you can't be blonde.
you can be blonde.
I don't know what we're talking. Anyway, so as I was saying, like there may be, but whether or not they're a member of the church may not necessarily play a huge role in the fact. I don't know.
Yeah, because like
No,
I
it
think
doesn't.
about my sister who dated a decent number of LDS scumbags, and they were not great dudes, you know. And so like I think
Wore
that
gold chains, always hop from cheerleader to cheerleader.
yeah, just
Terrible.
and so I think that like it oversimplifies it to think that there's going to be like a blanket culture just because I think we're more impacted probably by high school and like what we're doing in high school.
You know,
Okay. Sorry, I have a thought,
you,
but
you go.
Wait, I want to hear
okay, there is like kind of I don't know if it's like an ideology perpetuated through the church by the whole like wait till you're 16 to date, but only go on group dates, and then when you turn 18 you can go on single dates. Like like this specific structure of it, I feel like has kind of hindered dating and emotional intelligence in the church because you talk to people like people in Utah in high school in Utah, it was a thing to not, develop your relationships with people of the opposite sex and rather to just kiss as many people as you can in high school. If you ask people their numbers in high school, it's
Especially
ridiculous.
in
Utah,
it's ridiculous.
because they're encouraged, don't date people, just go on dates, and which can also translate to hook up with people.
I have something to say about that. Kinsey is spot on because my parents had this rule in high school. I could not have a boyfriend.
And I made out with so many boys.
Listen.
My numbers in high school, okay. I beat anyone in this room, guaranteed. Who thinks they can
Probably
beat
not. Okay, the thing is, because I was taught in high school I couldn't have a boyfriend. My parents told me I couldn't kiss boys, but did I? Yeah. But this is
like how
funny.
she gets offended at what I say and then goes on to like
That's-
literally say the same thing I said.
It's true. I'll admit.
Boy, did I kiss some boys.
Boy, did I kiss some boys. Okay, but I think okay. So I was having this conversation with my ex last night, my like high school boyfriend. Okay. But what happened was that we weren't official until we had graduated. But he told me about this conversation we had because this thing my parents taught me made me have like emotional, like I was cold-hearted. Like I had commitment issues. I don't believe in commitment issues, but like I was cold-hearted. Like I was just a hoe. I did not give a fetch. And we were talking all like my last semester of high school. And he told me this one conversation we had at a lookout. And he was like, because I told him, I was like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've kissed like 5 guys this month. And he was like, to this day, he said it still hurts him. He said this to me last night. And I was like, shoot. It's true. Because I should have just committed to this guy. But instead, I had kissed 10 guys in the time that we were talking. Until we were dating. I waited to after we graduated to start being official and dating exclusively.
See, that sounds like a different problem though.
That's
because
toxic femininity.
The amount of restraint it took me not to heckle you during that entire thing. I know. You're like, oh boy. Whew.
Guys, I'm not proud of it.
When I was in high school, let me tell you. I'm not proud of it, but let me tell you.
It's true. But exactly what Kinsey said happened to me because I wouldn't commit to him because I couldn't have a boyfriend in high school and it ended up playing with him.
Notice how you try to make yourself sound like the victim of that story.
I'm not the victim. I was the evil.
Poor boy.
He would
You
cry
have
to me.
no idea what my parents did to me, guys. I was so rude to so many boys.
No.
My parents have just raised me
But
differently.
don't you think that
I
mindset
feel
kind
so
of-
bad about it.
It kind of emotionally stunts people. So then when they turn 18
He
and it's
called me
now
out.
time to
do you
single
know what's
date.
interesting about that? So in high school, I did not kiss anyone I wasn't actually dating. And I did date some girls in high school.
Me too.
Single dating. Whew.
See, I wasn't
Did.
allowed.
Me too.
I was
And
not allowed.
that would have been frowned
You
upon.
also dated girls in high school?
Okay.
Kenzie?
No, I did not.
Wow, we're about to get a whole new audience.
All right.
Talk
Real.
for another time.
Here
but,
I was thinking we had your cute face on screen to get guys to
Okay.
watch our videos.
Oh gosh. But
That's where I'm here to get the girls.
Okay, anything slightly misogynist I may have said, you just won out, and you're gonna hate you.
No, dude, I
Sorry,
got
Brad.
canceled so hard.
so
No one show this to a future employer. But,
the internet is forever, Scott.
oh,
I think
was
that there
worth it. It
is
was a great
something to be said about like dating around like that. And if you're not dating somebody and you're just kissing all sorts of people, it's probably going to mess with you a little bit. Like it's probably best to not just go around making out indiscriminately. That's not to say you should never kiss somebody before marriage, because that's the other extreme. That's not what you should be doing. But I think that there's like a balance in there that maybe is not 100% represented in the For Strength of Youth and things like that right now. I mean, is that heresy of me to say? I feel like there's maybe...
no, I think the For Strength of Youth is like literally when I was on my mission, when we had nothing else to watch because all like actual...
Wait, what's happening?
I was hunched over, and it was.
It's like his face is like.
Wait.
Scott, well, Scott's not even on camera.
Oh, wait, what?
Go. Finish.
Scott on camera. Can we?
Oh, okay.
Sorry, yeah.
Finish.
So anyway,
Finish.
You have touched my arm a lot today. Like, I'm not
God,
going to.
usually you do look so good.
He was asking for it.
Oh, damn.
Oh!
You're a clean-shaven Mormon boy. You're asking for it.
I thought you were into dudes with mustaches. Isn't that...
You got it
Well,
all
you're
good.
one step closer than you were before.
Anyway, no, we literally watched this video. Like, we had these like old like church like seminary videos that we would watch because we couldn't watch anything cool. But there's this one that was breaking down like why the Pharisees were wrong in the Old Testament, and it was literally like, so you have the actual written law of Moses, and then you have the oral law, which was essentially a big. And they did this terrible little like 2003 graphic of a wall being built up around
The hedge around the law.
Around the law. And they're like, and this is the oral laws and all these rules, so you don't even get close to breaking the law. And I was like, oh, so the For Strength of Youth. Yeah, that's what I was like. That's what I was like.
And that's what I
sweet.
feel like sometimes, because I feel like if we just had people living by the principle of love your neighbor, you've got to, in there, recognize your actions affect others, and you shouldn't rip their hearts out and punch it a bunch of times
I agree,
and
I
make out
agree.
with 10 other guys in the same week, right? I think that there's like a level of understanding love your neighbor that stops you from doing things like that, right? And
Right.
so-
And you can stop yourself from doing it without the random arbitrary don't go on 2 dates in a row with the same person rule.
yeah,
'Cause believe
which
it or
is
not,
I had that
actually in
rule.
the
I
For
had
Strength
that
of
rule.
Youth, but ends up in like
But they say not to kiss passionately, and guess who? Oh, he's done it in this room. All of us.
Hey,
We've
you don't
all
know
kissed
me.
passionately.
You don't know about
I know you have.
Oh, so I think the one issue is like a lot
Wrong,
of
I've never had
a lot
any
of these
passion.
a lot of these gender conversations, at least I
Okay,
see
like-
in the church happening or happening online, and like social media in the church is heavily dominated by young people, and
Yes.
so our frame of mind's coming from our age, and it's like you have a lot of these girls or guys who are like man, yeah, there's like guys are so toxic in the church. Well, you are in a college town dating like 18 to like 26-year-olds who are probably the douchiest phase of their life. You know what I'm saying?
it's less the church and more just the demographic
The
you're dealing
frontal
with.
lobe is not developed all
And
the
this is
way.
why- this is why I don't
you're
trust-
handpicking like the worst demographic.
No, this is why I don't
Like,
trust
if I
social
wanna
justice
all the
activists.
about
guys
people on the
all
internet,
in.
I don't go to the YouTube comment section.
Right.
Like that's
I don't trust social justice activists for this reason, because they have the fake dumb idea that if they are just they target the right topics enough and they cancel enough people, then people will be better. Name one social activist who changed the world. I'll think of one.
Gandhi.
Martin Luther King.
One
Let's think of these
did.
people. They all did terrible things. Every person, even people who do the most grandiose, amazing things to help society for the better, have sometimes graveyards in their closet. Like, it's a fake. It's a fake idea that if you get enough people on board with the right measure of social awareness, that everything's gonna be fixed. It's bullcrap. It's not true. MLK cheated on his wife a bajillion times and helped black people get civil rights. Which, you know what I mean? Pick someone. Pick your hard. Choose
Yeah.
your hard. Pick your villain, because
true.
everyone's a villain.
Remember this when I'm changing the world, this is my villain.
That poor
Cold-hearted.
boy. Governor Mia Pitcher ruined my life in high school. And she gets 5 boy. And then you destroyed some poor boy. He'll probably be like in a wheelchair at
Don't
that
worry,
time
we
too.
talking
which
We
he
had a
didn't
great
want.
conversation yesterday.
What?
We
Was that
are
a thing?
we are
Did I
fine.
imagine that?
One time.
He cried,
We
but
almost
it's
had a
fine.
video on feminism. I don't care. It was fun.
Oh, this was all about feminism.
What was it?
This,
Wait.
we danced around
It was
it.
feminism for like a few seconds in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Long story
This
short,
ended up being,
feminism.
what, rape culture and
I'm not gonna say that.
And LDS boys. I think it was just kind of on LDS boys. I feel like that's what this episode was.
It's always about the
Yeah.
boys.
Well, hey, I wanted
Girls
to talk about
don't
women,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden Mia was like, "Guess how many boys' lives I've ruined?"
only like one,
He's sitting 2 seats down from you.
2.
Mia's not ruined my life. No girl can ruin my life.
Not
okay?
yet, I
I'm on the peak.
I
okay?
will ruin you.
I'll be fine. I have the patriarchy. It's fine. All right, guys. Thank you so much. For,
I have the picture.
enjoy that quarter less $1.
Cheers again.
well, I guess we'll address
Whatever. He calls me Miss
feminism at
Prager,
another
you, so you
time.
can shut
Yeah,
up.
later.
Okay, bye.
Well, I have an OnlyFans when you can be our OnlyFan.
Cut! Oh my gosh, Mia! Stop!